Let's get your education news now. The Basic Education Department is apparently considering introducing mother tongue languages as a medium of instruction in order to improve outcomes in schools. In fact, at a recent engagement, Minister Angie Motshekga said that her department encourages pupils to learn through their home languages, at least where it's feasible. To get us a sense of what this would look like if it were to be rolled out officially, let's bring in UNISA's Professor Zodwa Motsa Maikane, who joins us now via our video link. Prof, it's great to see you. Thanks as always for making time, especially around these issues. You know, on the face of it, I imagine this is something to be welcomed because we all know that there's nothing inherently superior about English. But if we are to get this right, certain things need to be in place.
Yes, good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to the viewers. Ayanda, let me start off by sending a disclaimer that these are my views. These are not the views of my employer. It is true, there is nothing superior about any language, and there's nothing inferior about any language. And therefore, I really support the idea of the introduction of the process of getting information, getting knowledge through one's own language, because we know that language can be a barrier to learning. Language can be a barrier to actually self-expression. So if we learn maybe geography in a language that you understand, you are better able to handle those concepts. So it is a most welcome initiative from the Department of Basic Education. You will recognize the fact that language is not just words and song, but it is a mediator of the cognitive space. Want to go into the cognitive space and make meaning. So if the language is, first you have to understand what a word means, and then you get the wrong meaning, and then you can also get the wrong meaning of the concept that you're trying to unlock as a child and as a learner. So I truly support what the department is doing.
Yeah, I can imagine, of course, some of the skeptics among us calling for a much more of a staggered approach if this was to be rolled out. And that's largely because we have spent so much time engaging in English. And I think some of the writers in Africa, including Ngugi wa Thiong'o, speak about how because so much focus is placed on one language, that language itself ends up becoming a vessel of knowledge, leaving other languages behind. Let me drive the point home through an example. You know, people will say, how do you, for instance, teach photosynthesis in a language where that necessarily hasn't been conceptualized? Intersectionality in a language where the concept might be understood, but the term itself is yet to be captured.
Yes, and the reason is that it is not even because Africa is bankrupt of these sciences. Africa is not bankrupt, but we have spent too much time looking at the world from the lens of the colonizer, Western Europe. Therefore, we will then begin to say that things like photosynthesis do not exist, whereas we have our own. But because we're not using the language, we're not actually going into our communities and uncovering our sciences, our mathematics, our judicial system from our own perspective, we have then been kept behind in actually engaging the nomenclature. To actually express these ideas. I like Ngugi. I really like him, not just because we are both scholars of English literature, but because we are both advocates of the epistemology of Africa, and we are both saying that there is so much that Africa has to offer in the knowledge systems of the world, and Africa has been left behind. So I want to say that, Ayanda, it is all good also to use isiZulu, isiXhosa, to study chemistry, when that chemistry is informed by the Western lens. What about the African chemistry? I have a family member who does botany, and he spent years and years and years going around in the rural areas and talking to old people and asking what is the name of this plant, what is the name of the tree, Why is it that I cannot extract this tree at this time of day and not at that other time of day? That is the knowledge that we want. We are not saying that English must go to the sea. We are saying that Africa has something to offer, and it is about time that we do not only use our languages to access Western knowledge, to translate Macbeth to Umabata, but it is about time that we understand what Ityala Lamawele's judicial input is in our judicial space. It is about time that we privilege our knowledges, because if we continue like this, it's what I've always called linguistic Darwinism. So we are subscribing to Darwin, that some animals are more equal than others. No, no, no. We have what it takes. More than
Absolutely.
Language, we have the knowledge systems. Yes, thank you.
The capacity to get other languages to where English is, and many other dialects, by the way, is definitely there. It's about whether or not we invest in it. Very quickly, I'm relieved to hear that you have relatives, for instance, who study botany with a very particular lens in mind. Because part of what I've been wondering is, if this was to happen, if something like empowering mother tongue languages was to unfold meaningfully, where should it start? You know, is it at the level of scholars who are working in university institutions? I mean, we're already hearing of some scholars who are writing, for instance, their PhDs in isiXhosa. Welcome, great. Or is it better to begin at grassroots levels with some children who are at a very important phase of their learning and may very well be able to carry this through effectively?
Like I said before in other discourses, this is a war of knowledge. It's like a war, really. We can no longer afford the time to say where we are going to start. Should we start maybe 10 years in primary and so forth? I think we start everywhere. We start everywhere. We start with the concepts that are being developed in the communities that are being sent to PANSALB, the multilingual glossaries that are being developed by PANSALB, and also we go to all the meaningful formations, your health system, your governance system, your linguistic, your histories, and we make available the glossaries. We circulate the glossaries around. University lecturers are busy, decolonizing the curriculum so that we are able to teach the students who come from high school. So we cannot really wait for a cohort of students that comes from basic education and then begin to introduce. We have started, in higher education as per the mandate that came from the Ministry of Education that, our curriculum is very foreign. Our curriculum does not reflect the fact that we also have a knowledge system in our continent, alongside with Asia, alongside with South America. So that's where we start. It's just that urgent, and it's just that busy because it is all over. We catch it like we catch the cryptocurrency. It is all over, if I may use that analogy.
Sure, loud and clear. Thank you so much for your insights. Always such a pleasure speaking to you. Professor Zodwa Maikane, I really appreciate your time. She's with the University of South Africa and joining us there via our video link, prospects around linguistics, which I always find very interesting.